Here we out here. We got the right date yet. We gotta make sure we have the right date out here. What's up, guys? Happy Wednesday, August 19th, 2020. 4-game slate in the books. The Magic upset the Bucks. Technically, the Rockets upset the Thunder. Miami did what they were supposed to do. And the Trailblazers upset the Lakers. It was a day of the dogs. And it played out as such. And a lot of fantasy lines on FanDuel and DraftKings. Hopefully you guys maneuvered enough and did well. For the most part, my pool did all right. Guys that got me, Brook Lopez couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. But we did talk about some of the game theory and leverage behind LeBron James, right? Out of all the four studs, it seemed like LeBron might have been the guy that was the least interesting to the general public. Playoff LeBron was playoff LeBron. He led the entire slate in points, fantasy points, that is, 23 real points, 17 boards, 16 assists, 41 minutes. He's just different when it's the postseason. Some surprises. Vucevic wasn't that enthralled with him. 35 real points, 14 rebounds. He went out there and did his thing. Giannis was fine. James Harden, little lackluster there. The Rockets Don't let that final score fool you. They blew out the Thunder. So if you're here to take a victory lap on, Steven Adams was a great play, they didn't run him off the court. Well, he ended up being a solid fantasy play. 28 minutes, 17 and 12. But them not running him off the court is not a justification. That is ignoring the real life basketball loss there. They should have ran him off the court. If you're Billy Donovan, if you're coaching the Thunder, Steven Adams doesn't belong, man. He's so slow. And sure enough, for the real part of the game, Thunder was getting smacked by 20 points. When they threw in the towels and the scrubs came out there, the final score seems a little bit closer. It wasn't that close. But Chris Paul did his thing, almost had a triple-double, 1 assist shy of that. Danilo Gallinari, this was one of my most nerve-wracking picks. I was worried about his minutes because the last week or two of the final season, the minutes were not there. But I was like, man, it's playoffs. You need Gallo out there. I thought there was stretches where he should be the center. And he did fine, almost 40 fantasy points there. The rest of the guys, SGA, Dennis Schroeder, I mean, they were big-time lineup killers. Schroeder's was a plus-minus of minus 19. Miami Heat side of things, love Jimmy Butler, love Bam Adebayo, and we love Goran Dragic. Those three came through. One thing to note about the Magic game is we kind of figured that all of the Magic guards could get there. Or at least 3 of the guards could get there. Well, 3 of the guards got there, but one of them wasn't Evan Fournier. DJ Augustine was the best play, 10x'd his price point. Terrence Ross, 28. Markelle Fultz, 27. We'll take that. And Gary Clark, 3K, bare bones min, 26.5. So you would have took that. And then on the Bucks side, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 65.25. Everyone else on the Bucks kind of fadeable, right? But Brook Lopez, 30 minutes. 2 for 9, 0 for 4 from downtown. That's one of those. I don't feel like my process was wrong. I was playing him for 30 minutes. I thought the 30 minutes would be there. I just thought he would hit some shots, and he didn't. If his price stays at under 5K, you'll probably see me play him again in 2 days. We'll see how that goes. But I think when you think about these 4-game slates that we're having every day this week, it's really going to be a lot of point chasing by casual fans, and there's going to be times we're going to have to take stands, go back to the slot machine, and hope that the guy that you liked for a reason gets there eventually. Like today, we'll talk about it. Hopefully, we'll get Jake and Raj in here. But like Donovan Mitchell, everyone's going to go right after those points, and I'm going to have a really nice amount of Donovan Mitchell. But he was. Like half the ownership of a Karis LeVert on day one? Does that flip-flop today? And is there a range of outcomes where LeVert pops off today and Donovan Mitchell goes there? So these repeat 4-game slates give us some extra game theory to work with because it's not the normal stat muse last 5 games. It's literally what did they do 2 days ago, and you start chasing points and whatnot. But anyway, hopefully you guys did well. I'm going to share a little story about how my day went. You get up, grinding and worked all night, research, got up this morning, make my player pool, carve it out. I really hate to call him out by name, but I use Fantasy Labs as an optimizer, or my optimizer. I've used them for years. I've recommended them to a lot of people who've used them. Since this side of the quarantine, man, I've had a lot of issues, like small stuff. Like if I try to set exposures, I have to type it 5 times for it to click. Players disappear in my player pool. The other day, I had to submit a ticket to get Luis Garcia added to the player pool for my FanDuel pool. It's just small stuff like that. And then today, I make my lineups. I get it scripted, and the CSVs look like this. There's a bunch of zeros. This is where player IDs are supposed to be. And people in the Discord are experiencing the same thing. So I'm on the hunt for a new optimizer to use for my day-to-day for baseball, basketball, and NFL. So if you guys out there really use Mass Entry a lot and you have an optimizer you like, let me know. Hit me up on Twitter. I am looking for one. I'm definitely feeling like the current people I use are not worth the what we're paying every month for. So there's that. Anyway, we're live on YouTube, man. Shout out to the live chat. If you guys are watching live, be sure to interact in chat, just like we used to do. We'll pick each other's brains and hopefully come up with some plays together. What up, Mike Lowry? Nikita Hurst says Lopez my only snowflake. He wasn't my only, but he was there. So, by the way, here's what happened on that CSV. I couldn't put the 150 lineups that I spent hours working on into my contest, right? And it's not FanDuel's fault, so I can't open a ticket with FanDuel. So I have to train one lineup 150 times. And, like, why? You know, that's not – why would you do that? So I ended up missing the cash here, 292. This lineup had an Aaron Holiday, had a Brook Lopez. Those are probably the two big reasons. You know, had a Danny Green. This lineup was strictly a dummy lineup. Well, actually, yeah, this was a lineup where the purpose was to get Harden, Giannis, and AD, right? I didn't want to run that 150 times, so I got stuck out there. What are you going to do? And that's when you start looking for a new optimizer, right? Because they're costing you money at this point. What up, Sid? What up, Cheech? Love you, man, but I'm sad because I listened to you. Had Adams and Dragic. Oh, I like Dragic. You can't blame me for Dragic. Adams is whatever, but all Adams did was hit value. Fultz was fine. Brook Lopez. I did like Brook. Brook got me. I'm pretty transparent about that. But all that Brook did was miss shots. He got the minutes. That's what I was looking for. Be back tomorrow. Oh, what up, Mike? What up, Earth to Air? Jay, Fantasy Cruncher. Yeah. I don't want to get into that, but yeah. RotoQL best optimizer. I'll check them out. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to give free. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to have that chat on here. But if you really use the optimizers and you believe in what they do, let me know on Twitter and I'll check it out because I think I'm paying like $50-$60 a month for labs. Anyway, let's bring on Jake and Raj. So let's drag him in here using the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. In a minute, here we go. Yo. What's up, Raj? You went and got you some Canadian fast food?
Yeah, it's one of those. Just out and about, and came back right for the stream. And sadly, the Lakers. Rough shooting night for Caldwell Pope. Looks like a scrub. Anthony Davis. 8 for 24. Give LeBron some help. God damn it!
I don't start that crap. I think we were all pretty adamant in the pre-lock chat, or even the last couple days. We all said if there's a game that the Blazers win, it's game one. That's when you catch them sleeping, you punch them in the jaw, and everyone's ready until you get punched in the jaw, right? Like that. I think they regroup. And I thought that the Blazers had a lot of momentum. I doubted them. I did. And from fantasy standpoint, what was it? Just like Whiteside was really the shock, right? Like Lillard wasn't anything special for his price. Nurkic had a double-double in the first quarter, and he was like, "Nah, I'm good." I guess Melo was a great play, but like for a team that they weren't that fantasy relevant, so I can't really feel too bad.
The Lakers. Like, they played good deal. Like, it was a good defensive game, right at the pace that they want.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, they were making shots. They were just missing open shots.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it. And I think they'll bounce back. Like, I've seen this from LeBron before. But the fact that LeBron, like, well, you know the drama I had today, but we literally game theoried that yesterday, right? Like, LeBron was going to be the lowest of the top four. And we were like, he could very well be the highest scoring. And sure enough, effing
the guy on FanDuel that won all the money. He won the 100K with Chris Middleton in the lineup. That's so
actually,
sick.
I saw it. I think it had none of the studs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it had any of the studs.
He has LeBron in there. He has Vooch, Bam, Green, LeBron, Gallinari, Middleton, Jimmy, DJ Augustine, Goran. How did he do? Had Fournier. Had a pretty good line, too. But, damn, he won with Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton was like a legit bust.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
It was that kind of day. I mean, there was a lot of high owned, but I think we saw Nerlens Noel on FanDuel was 20% owned.
Oh shit, I didn't even do that.
He got 8 minutes of gameplay, 5 DraftKings points.
I don't know why.
Dennis Schroeder had a little ownership on him. He had 11.
Yeah.
Basically had ownership, and I thought that like when the game blew out, I was like, God dang it. Didn't we talk about that yesterday?
Yeah.
I was like, man, there's just like no real substance to his minutes. So, but yeah, there was a lot of like 20, 30, 40% owned lackluster games out there. So I guess you could have skirted by tonight with at least a bust with enough game theory in your lineup. And if you played Vucevic, right? Like Vucevic.
Bro, we disrespected Vucevic way too much for what he did. I had a 345 with Fournier. I'm just pissed at Fournier.
So the thing with Vucevic, and I said it's a tough matchup fantasy-wise for centers. And I said the main reason why centers do so bad is because the points in the paint allowed is the fewest in the league. But Vooch could stretch the court, and that's what he did. He shot 5 for 8 from downtown. So it's not like I was completely shocked. I think I'm maybe more shocked by the 14 rebounds than the 35 points. But I mean, he did his thing. I had 10% in my script.
Oh man,
so it's not like I was gonna have 0
with 100% Brooke Lopez.
Yeah, no, exactly, dude. I'm telling you, it's freaking, and I can't be mad at anyone but a third party company.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do? What up, Jake?
Look, I mean, all I gotta say, you have it on your screen. Why didn't we play James Ennis? We knew he was getting 30 minutes.
Dude, Ennis, Gary Clark was solid for his price.
Gary Clark came through, yeah. Jeff
Fournier didn't make a shot for the first 40 minutes.
It was rough.
It's just crazy.
It was rough out here in these streets.
Shout out Goran Dragic though. My highest owned guy came through. That's the only reason I profited on FanDuel.
Relax, killer. Congratulations on that call. I got Goran Dragic, guys.
Hey, I'm just saying. Talk about he was 24% owned in the tournament. I am
I guess on
triple the field.
On DraftKings, he was like 50% in the crap that I was
looking at. See, FanDuel, he's 24. So
yeah, okay.
Shout out Chris Paul too, getting that 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Paul came through. James Harden had a mediocre game.
Yeah, no, Harden was absolutely fadeable.
Yeah.
And then all that talking we did about Harden versus Damian Lillard, they basically scored the same, right? 51 versus 58. So
we took huge stands on Gallo. I mean, we talked him up all.
Yeah, Gallo
all day
essentially. Like I said,
I
almost am scared to go back and because I still have the lineups that I made, right?
I want to see it now.
I'm so scared to go back and look.
I want to tell you even more. You tell me, would you have a lot? I mean, the first place, I'm saying we might Vooch, Bam, Green, LeBron, Gallinari, Jimmy, Goran, Augustine, and Middleton. I know no Middleton was needed, so we could have upgraded from that. I mean, tell me we just lost 100K. Please go look. I was going to tell you more. It's so
I don't know if I want to do this on the air, bro. Anyway,
people want to know.
No. Well, I'll do it after the party and after party. All right. Anyway, we got 4 games tomorrow. A lot of they're all repeat games, and we're gonna talk some game theory here. Not a whole lot of differences, but we do know Gordon Hayward's gonna be out. And then I read that Kristaps Porzingis was questionable with knee soreness. I don't know if that's like an old report, but not old as in like after the original game, but still not for sure updated. I would assume he's gonna play. Could you imagine missing a playoff game with soreness? Like holy cow! Especially when you didn't play the whole game. But yeah, I still see a lingering Q tag on him on Roto World. So we'll see if that plays out. But Mike Conley came back to the bubble, but he's not going to be eligible for this game. And then there's no other like big ifs and ands, right? It's just Hayward out. We knew Brown was probable, and Porzingis is questionable. And then of course the Nuggets, Gary Harris and Barton are out. So it's pretty much the same slate, except this time without Gordon Hayward. So let's jump into it. And let's open up that RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet. If you guys want access to this spreadsheet, it is a perk of having a premium subscription at RunDFS.com. You can do so by going to RunDFS.com, make yourself an account. Click VIP passes, $25 right now for a week pass. It's less than $5 a day. That's going to get you double coverage, NBA in the morning, baseball in the evening. I did good in baseball tonight, guys. So there's that. Had plenty of Kenta Maeda, the losing pitcher.
I mean, I don't. That's.
Oh, Raj, do you even know what happened there?
No, so I had a bunch of Darvish, and I saw Kenta Maeda's game, like points he got, and he just.
No, okay. Maeda had a no hitter into the 9th. It gave up a leadoff bloop, and then Taylor Rogers came in and blew it.
Wow.
Let's say this too. He had a no-hitter going into the ninth. They were up 3-0. The game is currently in the bottom of the 11th.
Yeah.
Wow, it's like that.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, we still got 38 points from
60 fantasy points.
Yeah, he was a great play, but just think he was so close from a CGSO, so close from that win.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen. Anyway, we're here for basketball. Game number 1 today, Toronto Raptors hosting the Brooklyn Nets. Nets project starting 5 here. Karis LeVert, Joe Harris, Garrett Temple, Rodion Carew, Jared Allen taking on Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Marc Gasol. 226.5 star total, 11.5 point spread. Guys, I recorded my FanDuel Core Plays video. I don't think I flipped it live just yet because we're going live. I didn't want to compete with myself. But no, if you're watching live, my FanDuel Core Plays will be live after this. There was 2 guys in this game that I listed from FanDuel that were great values. Jake, I don't want to give away our little secret here, but Timothy Luwawu was on the list there.
Probably chalk tomorrow.
You think so? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't
4-game slate.
Maybe. If he is, I'll take credit, right? My smashing successful YouTube channel pushed it.
Yeah, buddy.
So let's pull up the game flow on Popcorn Machine for not only the game 1 with the Raptors, but let's go look at the game with the Portland Trailblazers, because this was basically a dress rehearsal for the playoffs. This was a meaningless game in terms of what, like, win or lose, what happens. That's the game that Portland had to win to make it to the playoffs. But that kind of gave us an idea of what the Nets rotation would be. And Jake, for all the credit in the world, one bullet guy, Mr. 100K the other night. You played Luwawu, and the minutes aren't fake. Maybe playing the entire fourth quarter in a blowout was a little on the flimsy side, but it seems like he has a argument to push 28 to 31 minutes, it just as is. So at 4,400 on FanDuel and almost 5K on DraftKings, in tournaments I'm really wanting that 30, but I think there's still meat on the bone and there's still reason to believe that he's going to be a solid back pocket play. So he's there for me. And the other guy that I mentioned in this video was Serge Ibaka on the Raptors side. We did all that debating about Marc Gasol's price point, and maybe this is another an opportunity to revisit that debate and understand that the matchup is still the matchup. But Marc Gasol, it wasn't like he was being stretched out minute-wise, right? He played 21 total minutes. And if we go look at the popcorn machine from that game, which is a key, Marc Gasol, he played a decent stint in the first quarter, closed the first half, started the second half, and didn't come back in the rest of the game. So maybe in a competitive game, you make a case that he comes in there in the fourth quarter. But check this out. All the other starters came back in the fourth quarter. All of them. Even Siakam, who didn't start the fourth quarter, got some run. Marc Gasol did not. So I feel like that's telling us that maybe they don't want to use Marc Gasol unless they absolutely have to, right? You save him for one of the big games. And Serge Ibaka is out there being Serge Ibaka. So Serge Ibaka is somebody that's in my back pocket here. Now, he's priced at a point at 5'8", 5'7", where, again, I'm needing 30 at this point. But, man, centers against the Brooklyn Nets, that's what we do. We get up in the morning, we look at the DVP chart, we find the Brooklyn Nets, who's going against them. Brooklyn Nets in the bubble allow the most fantasy points per game to opposing centers. So I'll go back to the Ibaka. Well, I do think Marc Gasol's 4K price tag is worth another discussion. We don't have to have the discussion, but if you guys are playing in and of yourself, this is one of those opportunities where, man, is 4K a little too cheap for Marc Gasol? That's a maybe. The story of this game was that game was very lopsided, right? It was a blowout. The Raptors still played minutes except Marc Gasol. So guys like Siakam at 7'5" still have potential to go out there and drop you mid-40s. Fred VanVleet was like the second half Cinderella story, right? Lowry smacked in the first half, and then the second half VanVleet just took over. This could be one of those times or one of those cases that the casual player, really all the players just kind of go after those VanVleet points, because if he replicates what he did in that game at 7,600, he goes out there and gets 60 in 39 minutes. You want it. Now 7,600, 45 is a reasonable range of return, but it's also a range of outcomes that seems very, very likely. So I think all the Raptors, like, in and of themselves, the case is there. And I don't think we need to completely repeat everything we talked about on Monday. But what I do think we need to talk about is the debate today, I think, LeVert versus Donovan Mitchell, right? The Donovan Mitchell was like 18 to 20% owned against the Nuggets the other day. Goes bananas ballistic. He's like half the ownership of Karis LeVert. Do we see that flip-flop today? And is this one of those, like, if you were on LeVert over Mitchell Monday, do you stay there, at least maybe in single entries? And I thought on Monday that the field would be Mitchell over LeVert, and they weren't. So is the field also, is this like reverse psychology? Is the field going to do the same thing? Like, no. Mitchell can't do that twice. Remember when TJ Warren kept going off and people kept pushing it? Like, is this that situation? Or are people going to go back to LeVert over Mitchell? Mitchell's 9,200, so it's not exactly a 1v1. But still, I think if you're allocating funds at that guard spot, I don't know. It's a curious debate, but LeVert, Joe Harris are the two names that stick out to me, and then Luwawu from the Nets. Jake, is there anybody else here from the Nets that you'd gamble with at these new prices? Garrett Temple's not exactly the sub 4K price point that he was the other day.
No, he's not. I think you hit it. We were on Luwawu. Those minutes make sense. Obviously, LeVert and Harris. And to add a little more to Luwawu, the biggest reason there, obviously, he's just a part of the rotation. But you said it a lot going into this game. If you're going to beat the Raptors, you need to be able to have shooting. I mean, if you look at Luawu's game log, that's what he provides. He's a decent defender. He's a decent rebounder, but he's also a really good three-point shooter. And that's what he's provided in these games. But for the most part, outside of that, Jared Allen did end up with a double-double, but I feel like that's not a matchup we want to continue to pick on. And Jared built a brick house.
And for the double-double, it was not like 35 to 7-1, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We're still not going to get there over Embiid and Jokic, but yeah. Continue.
And then Karooks, he didn't end up doing it, but he tried to foul out in the first half. He pushed for it hard. He ended up not fouling out to the fourth quarter, but still got there. For the most part, I think Harris, LeVert, and Luwawu are the three I'm looking to target from the Nets side.
Raj, are the Raptors going to finish the same this slate, like the same order in terms of fantasy point score? If we go pull up Monday's game and pull up
VanVleet, you know what? I think that first playoff game was really a passing of the torch for the Raptors guards, where I think VanVleet is better point guard than Lowry now. You know, he obviously just Lowry's a veteran guy getting up there. And I think VanVleet's just like, it's kind of my show. I expect VanVleet to just run the show. And you saw, I think VanVleet, I don't have to look at numbers. I think he had the ball in his hands more than Lowry.
I mean, if we're going off the second half, yeah. But like I said, Lowry, I was on FanDuel, I had 3 guards that night. Lowry was my lowest at capped him at 30%. And then it was Jamal Murray and Kemba. Yeah. And then Lowry had 30 at half or even before half.
Yeah.
He didn't do jack squat the second half. That's when VanVleet. That's what spooked me at first. I was like, oh man, Lowry's about to be nuts. So I mean, if he continued that pace, and same with Siakam. But here's how it finished. VanVleet 60 on DraftKings, Ibaka 37. Everyone else was 37, 34, 26. Even Anunoby got a lot of ownership that day. 34 minutes played today. Anunoby is 44. So kudos to DraftKings for reacting to the ownerships on some of these lower price players to where you have to shake up your lineup construction. But my question is, do we expect the same hierarchy of scoring? Do we expect Ibaka to be the second highest scoring Raptor for fantasy? I still think it's very possible. And do we expect suppressed ownership now on Lowry and Siakam just based on the recency bias?
Oh yeah, people are going to game log watch for sure. Probably have a ton of VanVleet, but I still think he's the right play. Siakam's just tough just because with kind of 2 elite point guards, he's not really asked to do any playmaking, so those assist numbers will never be huge. Really kind of banking on him getting that 10 rebound bonus. And again, the scoring. That's what VanVleet is needed. Yeah. I don't know if he. I mean,
if he drops 60, you're gonna need him. Or you mean from a real perspective?
Yeah, from a real perspective, I just don't think he's that needed right now.
13 shot attempts. He got to the free throw line quite a bit. Led the team in free throw attempts, shot 100%. So I don't know. I just don't want that to be an Adebayo, right? I was on Adebayo, but how obvious in retrospect if Siakam dropped 50. I feel like that day, if I go back to my player pool that morning, if I had to rank him, did I have Siakam 1 as a guy that just picks up peripherals? I guess the fact that he played the least minutes in a blowout kind of tells me what we need to know. And I think Van Vliet, no matter what, it seems like Van Vliet doesn't get game scripted out. So I guess I still lean Van Vliet 1. And Van Vliet at 7.6K, that's probably the most. Maybe we went 8K when everyone was out before, but that's still a hefty price tag to pay for him.
But at some point, he's been the best Raptor in the bubble. Playoff game, he showed what he can do. I mean, he just may be the best Raptor right now. Like, he's playing the best, and we have a decent sample size. Like, it's been like, I think for the last 10 games, 9 games, he's been the best Raptor.
Mm-hmm. All right, Brooklyn Nets, Karis LeVert, Joe Harris. LeVert's $8,200. He's $1,000 cheaper on DraftKings than Mitchell, but on FanDuel, he's $200 more than Mitchell. So on one side, he's $1,000 cheaper. On one side, he's $200 more. This, if you're a dual side player like me, this is like philosophy, bro. Like, what do we do? If you're in that position, if they're the same price today, like LeVert versus Mitchell, where are you leaning?
I think the tournament play has to be LeVert. The cash game, probably Mitchell. Mitchell, no Conley. You saw he's basically point Mitchell. I get it. But LeVert, even last game, I mean, he had fantasy points on FanDuel 43, which is fine at his price.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing. Like, we can't act.
Yeah, he was fine.
Don't act like we can't act like LeVert busted. Like, LeVert did what we expected him to do. It's just Mitchell went bananas and had overtime.
But I mean, if you watch that game, it looked like he was having a down game.
Actually, he shot 35% and only took 2 threes.
That's what I'm saying. So I feel like he has some upside here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
This could be a 25 to 30 points, maybe not 15 assists. We can get the 10 assist bonus for sure. The rebound, I mean, he could smash. So I think in tournaments, LeVert over Mitchell is just going to be great, with Mitchell probably 3 times the ownership as LeVert, I think.
Yeah, another coin flip I had that last slate was Joe Harris versus Joe Ingles. They basically ended the same, like within 5 points of each other. But I'm probably right back there, and Joe Harris here should be number 2 in shot attempts. Although Luwabu's got a case here now to be number 2 in shot attempts. But yeah. I mean,
Garrett Temple's still there too, chucking shots. He was chucking.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, at some point, those chucks are going to start falling.
Are they, though?
I mean, I'm saying a guy playing 34 minutes, 4,300. Like, he could have the Timothy Luau game, right? ELC was hot last game. Could Garrett Temple have the 26 real life points?
Maybe. Also in that game, it's worth noting that didn't Norm Powell get injured for part of that game? It looks like he still played at the third quarter.
He got kicked in the groin.
He didn't get injured. He got hit below the belt. He never actually came out of the game.
Okay. All right. Then we're good there. All right, chat. What do you guys got on this one before we matriculate on to the next one? LeBron needs to take over after that. I mean, how much more taking over can LeBron do? Look at that stat line.
Double.
We see this like every year, bro. He's gonna average a triple double and barely skate by. But yeah, what up? Don Vito in the chat. Okay, didn't Don Vito get locked up for bad stuff? Shout out to Mean Jeff Green. Yeah, Jeff Green had a little bit of ownership in my contest, and he got it done. Dedicate says, I have a 388 just chilling in the optimizer. So Dedicate had the exact same issue as me this morning.
That's so sick.
Labs, jacked up. So that is sick. I'm really scared to go look at my lines, bro.
You see a 400 winning 100K.
Bro,
That's when you just take that mic and slam it or something.
No, I'd be whatever. Some young optimizer company out there. Also, if somebody out there is familiar with GitHub and Python programming, and I don't pretend like you are. Every time I put this offer out there, somebody's like, "Oh, I can do that," and then when they message me, they're like, "I'll ask my cousin or something." I'm like, No. If you literally know what you're doing, holler at me in the DMs and yeah. Josh says TLC continues to be solid. Siakam hasn't been the same since the bubble. Yeah. What up, Adam Shockley? Is that Adam? I remember Adam. Adam used to chill with us for football, I believe. I'm trying to think of his screen name. Was it Blessed? I try to remember everyone, right? Vipers are family. All right, let's get on to the next game here. Denver Nuggets hosting the Utah Jazz. Project starting 5 for the Jazz. Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, Royce O'Neal, Jawan Morgan, Rudy Gobert taking on Jamal Murray, Torrey Craig, Michael Porter Jr., Paul Millsap, and Nikola Jokic. So we know Mike Conley did return to the bubble, but he's not going to be through quarantine yet. And Will Barton, Gary Harris ruled out. So this this is a game that the last two times these two teams have played, it has gone to overtime. And the last time they played, there was no Mike Conley, and Donovan Mitchell was making some insane shots, but he was looking very inspired. He was moving, driving to the rim, took over 30 shot attempts. Again, did get a quarter of overtime, but I mean, he was an amazing play well before that. 9,200 might be it has to be the highest we've ever seen for Mitchell.
Yeah.
So this becomes a seriously uncomfortable situation. So, from a real basketball perspective, you're Mike Malone. After that game, you go watch film, and every team has to be doing this. This is why I talk about how we can leverage the field who are just going to chase the points from the last game. If you're Mike Malone, you're like, all right, what did Donovan Mitchell do to make that a game? How do we stop that? Well, they don't have Gary Harris, which I think is their first answer, but then they use somebody like Torrey Craig. If Craig can stay out of foul trouble, maybe they draw some schemes to pressure away from Donovan Mitchell. And to Mitchell's credit, he was making tough shots. But do you trust the Nuggets to adjust enough that if you were underweight or faded 9,200 Donovan Mitchell without Mike Conley in the playoffs, who might play 38 minutes as is, do you like, if you're playing a single entry right now, Raj, is Donovan Mitchell in that lineup at 9,200?
At 9,200, because of the Boston guys, I don't think he is. Again, I mean, 9,200. This game probably doesn't go into overtime. He'll make a lot of tough shots.
Make sure your mic's not covered.
Yeah. Let's say, 9,200. The game went to overtime. If this goes regular, I mean, if he gets you 50, that's great. I just think that's like a ceiling.
So I don't think 50 is the ceiling, right? I think 60 in the playoffs and a high meaning impact game is still there. But the game theory is like Donovan Mitchell game to game, Jake, right? Very inconsistent, right?
Yeah.
So like, is it a hashtag DFS spot? Like the caveat here is, are we looking at Royce O'Neal and Juwan Morgan to score 60 points? Probably not. Jordan Clarkson is still what?
He could have a bounce back.
Third.
Clarkson
was fine at his last price. His new price gives you some work to be done.
Joe Ingles, though, I think is the guy. Joe Ingles is probably the favorite.
So Ingles is, I mentioned him in this video in my FanDuel core plays. And like I said, it was coin flip between him and Joe Harris. Ingles, kind of like Lowry in the first half, made me regret having more Harris than Joe Harris, or excuse me, more Harris than Ingles. But then the second half, Ingles just kind of, took a back seat here. Shot 6 for 14, 6 assists. The rebounds at 5. Now, 43 minutes is what stands out the most. And Jake is the resident Utah guru. So, outside of maybe Mitchell, is it realistic to expect Joe Ingles the second in minutes, and it's very close to 38, 39 as is?
Yeah, Ingles should play a ton of minutes. The only guy I think that would really rival Ingles and Mitchell for minutes is Royce, if he can stay out of foul trouble. He only played 32 in the first game, but he had 5 fouls. He was in foul trouble pretty much the entire game, and they were still just running him out there with heavy fouls because he's so important to have on the team for his defense.
So Royce O'Neal's $3,700. He was pretty high on that last slate. Got 13. You mentioned the 5 fouls, 7 boards. Only went up $200 more. Maybe the field touched the stove, burned their hand, they don't go back. Are you going back, Jake, Royce O'Neal?
I am, and I'll probably regret it, but Royce is generally not a guy that gets in a lot of foul trouble. We saw it today with James Ennis, albeit different role. Minutes equal money. He's still 3,700. He's still going to play 30-plus minutes. If he stays out of foul trouble, he might hit high 30s minutes. He's going to take 3. He's going to pick up some rebounds. He can get some steals if he's not playing on 5 fouls.
Yeah. Rudy Gobert, again, I think today's going to be just like Monday, where Embiid, Jokic, Porzingis are going to be the apples of my eye. And then we can spin the wheel and talk about all the reasons why that didn't work, even though Jokic and Embiid were fine raw points. Porzingis ejected. But Rudy Gobert is somebody I ended up having to let slip through the cracks. He did not double-double. Right? I don't. If you tell me Rudy Gobert played 42 minutes and didn't have double-digit rebounds, I'd just call you a liar. But Gobert is 7,400. Is there any merit to go back to him today at that center spot that has Embiid, Jokic, Porzingis, Ibaka?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
He got overtime and didn't even smash his price.
Yeah.
I mean, again, with the upside, I think Embiid, again, with his comments, he did make a statement saying, he has to do more. He'll step up. Expect Embiid to have a better game. You still have Jokic. You have Serge. You have Porzingis that's back. I just don't see myself getting to any Rudy Gobert.
Okay, and then lastly, well, I won't say lastly, but honestly, Jokic is in play here, 9,700, 50 fantasy points is a realistic expectation. However, maybe overtime helped him a little bit. Jamal Murray also maybe got a little helped out in overtime. MPJ is down to 6-7 on FanDuel. I'm very curious with that for another game without Barton and Harris. It does look like the minutes are going to be there for Michael Porter Jr., right?
No, I don't think there will be. He'll play some, but it got brought up in chat, and we can talk about it. He got ran off the court in that game because in the fourth quarter, it became the Mitchell show, but Michael Porter Jr. was struggling a lot with Royce's defense and Ingles' defense, and on the other end, all Utah was doing the entire fourth quarter until MPJ got taken off the court is they went down, and they're like, how do we get Michael Porter Jr. switched onto Donovan Mitchell? And they did it every single time.
He's a bad defender.
And Utah exploited it hard.
Yeah, so I talked about that on Monday though. It's like he is one I know rookie quotations, but like when you don't have the experience, the other teams they're gonna sniff that out. So I guess that explains why Jeremy Grant, I got him down for 33 minutes. So okay, if we go off of that, then Jeremy Grant kind of sticks out to me then. But Jamal Murray is 7,200. He's right there at like Fred VanVleet area, Do we? Look, that is a tough one, right? Like
he got bailed out by overtime, 100%. He was not getting there. He just took over there, which is fine, got there. But I'm taking Fred VanVleet over Jamal Murray 1v1 all day, every day. But it's still, his usage is there, the minutes are there.
Yeah,
you gotta be in the pool.
Yeah. Okay, so the mid-tier guard is pretty stacked. Let me say this. As much as we love the triple centers on Monday, in the winning lineups I saw, I think Jake told me he saw Garrett Temple in a util for his winning lineup, but I saw a lot of guard stacks going off. So it's like complete opposite of like what I do every day is stack bigs. Is there like a case for like a Van Vliet, Murray, Mitchell, you know what I'm saying? Go light on those big, because if Embiid and Jokic are only giving you 50s at 10Ks an hour, right?
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't think you could do that because of Boston, but I hear you.
Here's the thing: we're 2 games into the slate. We'll get to Boston next, and they kind of throw into the mid range as well. And you can already you've made a great case for 3 different guards, and that's before getting into Boston, who you kind of touched on Hayward being out. There's a lot of really good guards in this set of games.
Yeah, this could be the lineup construction on DraftKings. It's gonna be wide to F open, bro. It's gonna be crazy. But before we get off the Nuggets, I do want to bring up Monte Morris, 3,700, chip in a chair as they start advancing price points on some of the chalk value from the other night. Monte Morris didn't really move up a whole lot, and did get you 30 fantasy points, 28 fantasy points. 3,700, we'd live with a little over 20 fantasy points. So I put him in my back pocket. If we game script anything like a Torrey Craig or Jamal Murray getting a foul trouble, or a Michael Porter Jr. getting pushed off the court and they got to go 3 guard stats, maybe Craig plays some more 3. I think there's a case to be made that Monte Morris could play 6-man minutes. I think Jeremy Grant seems like he's also got that case, but it seems like Morris and Grant are the 2 guys first. So Monte Morris, 3,700 on DraftKings. I did mention him on my FanDuel video as well for some back pocket value. Let's check out the chat before we get out of here. Josh Sheddick says Murray and MPJ eat into each other's usage. Yeah, Grant closed out the game as well. Yeah, over Millsap or over MPJ?
Grant was the one they were putting on Mitchell towards the end of the game because Torrey Craig just got fouled out of the game in I think 15 minutes or 20 minutes or something.
Yeah. I wonder if that Torrey Craig is going to jack up my Monte Morris. But yeah, Jeremy Grant might be a little too cheap too. At 46, 47. Is forward eligible, yeah.
Jamal Murray's their closer.
Yes.
Jamal Murray definitely seems like he's the fourth quarter guy, going to chuck all the shots during that time.
Late in the game, Denver pretty much went to a two-man game of just Murray and Jokic playing off each other.
Yeah, sounds good
All right.
fantasy.
All right, let's move on to the chalk game here. Boston Celtics hosting the Philadelphia 76ers. Project starting five for the Sixers. Shake Milton, Josh Richardson, Tobias Harris, Al Horford. Joel Embiid taking on Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Daniel Tice. So it would be Celtics basketball to come out and break the slate that day. Jason Tatum dropped 57.75 DKP. Played 41 minutes of regulation. Jaylen Brown played 39 minutes. These are not surprises, right? We talked about playoff basketball. Young guns like this getting pushed to the max, and they were efficient, right? So it's not like these are 57-point games in 34 minutes, right? These guys are a little bit more going a little bit deeper, and I would have been somebody that sat back and be like, all right, maybe I cool back on the Celtics because the Celtics do have a wide range of outcomes. What did it take for Tatum to pop off that game? Well, Kemba Walker wasn't having the greatest game. Shot 7 for 16, 0 for 4 from downtown. Tatum had 30-plus real points. Jaylen Brown almost had 30 points. And then Gordon Hayward was just there, but he had 4 steals. So it's not like they were, Hayward's going to offer a lot of points to replace. So what I will say, it seems like when Hayward's injured now and brings like a Marcus Smart into the lineup, definitely doesn't seem like Marcus Smart's going to necessarily take 15 shots like maybe a Hayward does. So the interest in Tatum not only rises because of what he did in game 1, but Tatum now might have a case to be one of the highest owned players on the slate. And the 9K, this is like $9.99 versus $10, right? He didn't go up that much. 88 to 9K for what he did and what we know his minutes will likely be here in, very big, important playoff games. I'm a buyer. Jaylen Brown's the one I'm a little bit more worried about, right? I think there's a range of outcomes where maybe Kemba has a game and it eats from Jaylen a little bit, and Jaylen has he's probable, but he was at least dealing with an injury. What was it?
Sore thigh. I mean, I just think these injuries are just like bumps and bruises from.
Right.
I will say with Brown, every time he came off the court, he pretty much went and hopped on a bike.
Okay. So, I mean, these are pro athletes. I'm sure he's getting like shots and whatever, but I'm just, what I'm saying is I feel more confident in Tatum if I'm going back to the well here than I did Brown. So if I were setting ownerships here, because Brown's right there, 7,500, right? If we go util forward, right? There's or just util. I mean, that's your Van Vliet area, right? That's your Tobias Harris in the same game. A little bit lower, Jamal Murray. So it's not like Brown has competition at that price point. So I do think if he's fully healthy and ready to go, he's gonna have all the minutes his heart can handle. But I'm not as confident in Jaylen Brown as I am in Jason Tatum. Tatum was somebody we saw go bananas half the season when Kemba was down. Kemba's moved from like 6K-ish to almost 7K on both sides. If you're like me, you had a lot of Kemba Walker, especially on FanDuel on Monday. And it was just like mediocre, right? It didn't kill you. He was still in the winning lineup. But at 7K, you want a little bit more now. And you feel like one of these games is going to be a Kemba game, right? Kemba is just that type of player, a little bit volatile.
He still hurt that game though too.
I mean, maybe. I mean, they did have him on a leash. So,
yeah.
Is there anything? I mean, I guess we can pull up. RotoWire maybe on off court tool. We can maybe see what official numbers happen when we take off a guy like Gordon Hayward. But I feel like it's not going to stagger things too much. This has always been like a pretty evenly distributed usage team. So let's take off Gordon Hayward. Let's put on Tatum. The other guy I wanted to, while I'm doing this, is Daniel Tice was like still kind of just in the feed, right? But we don't want to get to the point where we're sacrificing a center spot. But man, maybe on a turbo or something like that, or a showdown, maybe somebody like Tice is somebody I'm looking at. Tatum, I want Tatum, Brown, and Kemba Walker.
I think you probably want 2 Celtics in every lineup.
That sounds I don't disagree with the notion, but man, as somebody who's like been so yucky on Celtics on like average slates, four game slate changes everything. But they're not the only team where we're pinpointing 38 minutes on players, right? So when you take Hayward off on the season, Walker leads the team in usage 26.1%, 1.1 fantasy point per minute, not great. Enes Kanter, we're not going to talk about him. So the numbers here are still pretty Celtic-y in terms of fantasy points per minute, almost like 1 a minute for all these guys. So I don't know what I was expecting when I look up Celtics usage and fantasy points per minute. But if we had to rank Celtics here, it's Tatum 1, Brown 2, Walker 3.
Easy. Yeah.
Marcus Smart is a shooting guard on FanDuel, right? At 5,600 on a position that features LeVert, Mitchell, Paul George, Lou Williams. You know what I'm saying? Like normally when Marcus Smart starts, it's like a meme that he's chalk and it's just like so volatile. But like, he might get under 15% ownership, and he might
is volatile.
Play the minutes.
Last game, 31 minutes.
Yeah.
Last game, 31 minutes, 9 fantasy points in FanDuel. But then before that,
to the world of Marcus Smart. Yeah. That's what happens.
But before that, he had 8 points, 8 assists, a couple steals for 30 fantasy points. So, yes, but again, you get, like you said, giving up Mitchell.
The thing with Marcus Smart that would be most alluring to me on FanDuel is the steals, the stocks, right? But he is known for his defense and getting steals. 2, 1, 3. Like on FanDuel, if he fell into like a 4 or 5 steal game, that's 15 points, and then does he get enough peripherals and shoot enough shots to kind of get there? Again, this playoffs are going to be all about adjustments. Did Brett Brown go to the locker room or go into the film room and come up with an adjustment for Jaylen Brown? And does that stagger something else? Just kind of thinking ahead of guys thinking ahead. But Marcus Smart seems like, just from a 100K to first tournament standpoint, like, is there any merit into thinking that 38 minutes of Marcus Smart might be a random 40-point game at 5,600 that might save you that money for some of those other, like Kawhi Leonard's and Luka Doncic's, guys like that? Because I think Luka might get, I'm not going to say priced out, but Luka might get ownership out by Mitchell and LeVert combos on FanDuel because they're both like 8,400, 8,200. And maybe Smart and Luka becomes contrarian. I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas here. The Sixers side, speaking of FanDuel pricing, 5,500 on Al Horford got me into some trouble. A lot of trouble. He's 6,700 on DraftKings, so I continue to feel like I don't have to make that decision. The last week of the regular season, he was still looking like a point per minute, sometimes more than a point per minute. You see 31.5 there against Portland. Against Boston, he missed the mark, but he still, like, he was getting peripheral, right? 7 boards, 6 assists. Got into a lot of foul trouble. If there's not 5 fouls there, there's 31 minutes, 34, 35 minutes. I don't think I ever sniff him here on DK, but I'll tell you what, at power forward on FanDuel, I'm going to have to make this decision again. And this might be a slot machine spot for me to hope for 30. And I don't know. Not a high level. It's not fun, but I might have to get there on FanDuel just because he's a 5'5" power forward in a big spot. Joel Embiid, 9.993 on FanDuel. I think we probably put him at a safe 50 to 60 fantasy point window. You said that he came out and made some public comments. that he has to pick up the slack. Words. All right.
Oh, I thought. Okay, no, I thought Jake was gonna jump in there.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
I thought you said that he said that. All right, we're not gonna hear say then. All right, so Joel Embiid's always in play here. Tobias Harris, I think, is the other question mark. 7,700. So, how stacked is this 7 to 8K? Even I'll say 7 to 8,500 area forward, if nothing else, on DraftKings. I mean, look at this. Tatum, he's 9K, but Paul George, Tobias Harris, Siakam. Tobias Harris, where does he fall? All right, if you're committed to the idea of a Van Vliet in your lineup, if you're committed to a Levert, one of a Levert or a Mitchell, Tobias Harris might slip through. One of these guys has to slip through the cracks. Like we could love everyone individually.
Yeah, Tobias might. Tobias just might slip through the cracks. Again, that small forward spot. Other people are going to want to pay up for Kawhi Leonard. I just think, like I said, playoff Kawhi, pretty safe, going to get you that 50. Going to pay for it, but it's just all to put in. If you want to pay for some of these guards and point guards, you can't pay up for another small forward. Tobias Harris is always going to be a little up and down. I mean, last game he had 8 assists, 8 rebounds. That's great peripherals, 15 points. Get up that to 25 points, but I don't expect the 8 assists again. That seems like a bit of an anomaly for sure.
The matchup got tougher, wouldn't you say? Like Hayward, DeMarcus Smart.
True, that's facts. That's true.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. But when we were projecting ownership here, like there's a lot of mid-tier goodness today, and we can like everyone in a vacuum, but everyone can't be played. So I wonder if Tobias Harris is that dude that slips through the cracks, and he has his breakout game.
I mean, I think Embiid's going to challenge Luka for the high score of the night, maybe more so. If Embiid takes a few more shots, less for Tobias, I think Tobias might fall through the cracks for me. Can't play everyone.
Yeah, Jake. Anyone other than Embiid making your short list?
I mean, I guess he's the topic of discussion, but it is Tobias.
Yeah.
It's an interesting point because there's a lot of mid-range, but Tobias Harris played 39 minutes in that first game. He still took 15 shots. Is he going to threaten a triple-double every game? Maybe not. But I don't know. I've always been massive on Tobias. I think he plays well without Ben Simmons because he does get a little more assist upside. Yeah. He's always going to get rebounds. He's always going to take shots. In playoffs, he's going to play 40 minutes. I like Tobias, but I definitely see the point, and there's so much 8K, 7K guys that are I mean, pretty much all of them are great plays.
Yeah. Jacob said, "What's your intro song called?" I have no idea. It's a random royalty-free song. I think it's called Bones. Creasy says Tobias Harris only sat for 2 minutes the entire second half. I think that's going to be a lot of playoff guys second half, especially young guys like Tatum. So it makes sense. Tatum was 2 for 6 when guarded by Matisse Thybulle. Is that really a big enough sample size to kind of what I'm saying? But that's interesting. We know Thybulle is a bulldog for them.
Yeah, but Tatum did complain about before the playoffs started, the refs weren't giving his superstar calls. So I mean, I think he's going to go out there and try to prove he's a superstar, chuck and chuck. So Tatum play a lot of him.
CJ said, "I think they will start Thybulle." I don't think that's a crazy thought, CJ. I don't think you're off base for bringing that up. But 2 for 6 seems like a small sample size to. You know what I'm saying? He almost shot 50%.
How many times did he chuck that game?
Tatum. He took 21 shots.
But
he had 11. He had 11 free throw attempts.
Yeah, and that was with Hayward taking 13.
I was going to say so maybe give him 4 more shots with no Hayward. Gets to 25. Yes, just keep playing Tatum.
But if you think Thybulle's getting I got Thybulle down for 31 minutes too, though. So if we put him in that random, if you're willing to play Danny Green, you might as well consider Thybulle. If we, these cheap 3K guys that might get 30 minutes, I got him down for 31. And especially on FanDuel, defensive peripherals like steals and blocks mean a little bit more. I don't think they're gonna care too much about his fouls. That's why he's out there to go be a problem for somebody. Tatum and Embiid are locks for me. I like that, Shockley. I think if we're running people at each other, Tatum versus Embiid, Levert versus Van Vliet, stuff like that.
You think Mitchell's upside is more than Tatum's though?
I mean, Tatum's dropped 80s, right? Like that's when that during that stretch where Kemba was out, Tatum was going bananas. But Kemba's in now, so at least Mitchell still has the no Mike Conley. This is a playoff game. You have to win. So I would say it's not the upside isn't more than because I do feel like Mitchell needs like 40, 50 real points for that to happen, right? 57 real points. I guess he almost triple doubles. I can't even like take that away from him. I don't know.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, Mitchell might be a better play than Tatum. 1v1.
What if I told you in Mitchell's last 5 games versus Denver, he's only had a under 35% usage rate once?
That's what you want.
That is what you want.
That's what you want. Yeah, man, dude, this slate's gonna be all about chasing points, and you just know there's landmines everywhere.
One last thing on this game. If I had to have you guess who led the 76ers in shots in game 1, who would you say?
Embiid.
Alec Burks?
It was Josh Richardson.
Jesus.
He took 17 shots and played 37 minutes.
He shot 7 for 17, only 2 assists, 6 rebounds. That's interesting.
That is. FanDuel, like shooting guard is like, how do you get down there? But I mean, the thought of it's like for at least for DraftKings, I guess that's interesting. It's interesting. I guess that's it. No other notes here. Chat. Anything else before we get out of this one? Jay Rich did play some point guard last game. You like that? Yeah. I mean, the idea for Jay Rich.
With Boston, like, what do you think for percentages with Boston? Own them all. You're just gonna obviously swap.
I don't think I'm gonna have any Boston centers. Like I was very curious with like Cantor just because of my personal history of having that 30-20 game for Cantor against Boston, for Cantor against Embiid when he was with the Knicks, I think. But it looks like that rotation for the Boston center situation is pretty.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was talking about the Boston guards percentages, like ownership, like.
You said percentages. I just said centers.
No. They're percentages for the guards between Jalen, Tatum.
So I think this is a great buy low spot ownership wise on Kemba, right? If you wanted Kemba, you don't have to invest too much of your 100 lineups. I think after that last performance with a price increase, people aren't going to expect a lot. And this is Kemba where. In a regular season, if Kemba's 8K in this spot, you might be thinking about him. So now you put some playoff on it. So I think if you're running 150 lineups, I don't think Kemba breaks 10%, right?
What happened to his assists last game? That's weird. I mean, he's their point guard. I don't know why his assist totals were so low.
Boston as a team didn't really have a lot. I mean, Brown had 4, Hayward had 3, Theis had 3.
Yeah, they're really. I mean, Tatum and I guess Jaylen Brown are really kind of isolation scorers.
Yeah. Check your mic again. All right, we got one game left to talk about. This is going to be a fun chess match slate for the lineup construction. It really is. I'm going to be glued to ownership projections.
The sports gods owe Dallas this game. If there is a god, Dallas will win.
The NBA refs might disagree.
All right, we got one more game on the docket. You know the drill. Before we do that, we take a pause for the calls. First of all, shout out to the 70+ of you guys hanging out with us late at night. If you would, show me some love. You see me drinking out my gallons of water, bro. For your hearing pleasure, I got the AC off. I got the fan off. I'm living in the middle of Texas. It's hot. For that alone, help me out. And just hit that thumbs up, right? We're at 10 likes, 70 viewers. Is there any way we can get that to 30? You know what I'm saying? I don't expect all of y'all to. Some of you guys are
50. Stop being lazy, guys. Get 50.
People are too cool for school. I get it. But let me get 30 likes off of this. You know what I'm saying? Also, if you guys want to hang out with us tomorrow before main slate locks for NBA, we'll be in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord chopping it up. All you got to do is go to RunDFS.com, make yourself an account, get signed up, and then you'll go to the VIP onboarding thread. You'll see links to the MLB spreadsheet, the NBA spreadsheet, and a link to the Discord. When you open up the Discord, you can scroll down, find NBA. I've been tagged. I'm scared to click that, knowing Dameron's awake. But you'll see this here. You'll see our buddy Pav. He lives in Europe. I don't remember what country over there. But he's usually up before everyone else is because of the time difference. He's getting started, and then you'll see guys like Always Be Placing, BMAC, they're chopping it up. And then 2 to 3 hours before lock, 2.5 hours before lock, you'll see us in this voice chat. You guys can click on that voice chat, grab a mic, chop it up with us, or just listen in if you have a little social anxiety. We welcome all newcomers, all different bankroll sizes, and I mean that. If you get a minute, you can click that screenshots thread, kind of scroll up, and you'll see cats crushing at all different bankroll levels. Jake is modest about it, but it's only been a couple days since he won $100K on DraftKings from NBA.
Bang, bang.
So they're all different levels. He's pretty much lost it all by now, though. So
Hey, I cashed baseball today because I full stack Phillies. There's your baseball advice. Boston Red Sox, they're terrible.
Pretty bad. Main event tonight: Dallas Mavericks, Los Angeles Clippers. Game 1 was not without a little controversy when Kristaps Porzingis was ejected after assessing a second technical foul. Project starting 5 right now for the Mavericks: Luka Doncic, Seth Curry, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, and Kristaps Porzingis taking on Patrick Beverley, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, Ivica Zubac. Another tilting thing about this game was Paul George got into some foul trouble. We're talking about people chasing points today. If everyone's loading up on Donovan Mitchell, Jamal Murray, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, where's the room for Paul George, right? Could this be a Paul George bounce back spot? Just
he
ideas
looked good.
Jumping out.
I mean, when he was on the floor, he looked really good. He was attacking the rim. He didn't get a lot of peripherals. It was a little weird for Paul George. Usually, you can get a few more assists, a few more rebounds. So he seems like a safe floor play. His upside with Kawhi in there and Lou Williams at Bev.
Right, and I mentioned Pav, but Pav brought it up. We really have not seen a Paul George ceiling coinciding with the Kawhi. So Paul George, let's go most DKP by game log with Kawhi Leonard last 60 games with. So this puts them both together on the court. There's a 66 in 39 minutes against the Timberwolves. And I'd have to fact check that to make sure I typed it correctly. But after that, it's a bunch of 50s and below. So it's not like he's been coinciding. It's not like the usage splits of a Porzingis and Doncic or a Harden, Westbrook. You know what I'm saying? There's still other people at the table eating. There's still Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell now off the bench to kind of spell some of the scoring responsibilities. Kawhi Leonard's still doing his thing. So Paul George's ceiling, maybe we should concede, is not what it is in our head. But the reason we like Paul George so much consistently is because of his floor. His floor is pretty doggone high when he gets 35 minutes. So that's not to say he can't go out there and score 50, 60. It just hasn't been a common range of outcome. He was a bucket away from 40 fantasy points in that game against Dallas, and that's just kind of where he's been living at, 40 to 45. I like him from a ownership leverage kind of standpoint, just because I feel like people might have been heavier on him on Monday, and now, shiny new toy in the Jalen's, in the Tatums, and guys like that. His ownership's going to drop, and I also think ownership probably plummets for Luka Doncic, who led that slate in fantasy points, right? No, he was second behind Mitchell, so he was 65.
Why would people just go back?
Well, they won't, because they're going to go mid-tier, right? If you got all those 7K guys lined up, you're not going to have 11K for Doncic. And I don't even, at the end of the day, if Doncic just did 65 again, and you can make the case that 65 maybe wasn't happening without Porzingis being ejected anyway, it's fadeable if your 7K guys are all just going to spray you with 50. So kind of something to think about there. Other thing to think about now is it's a little after midnight where I'm at. This is the last game on the slate, 9 p.m. With most people that have injury tags like Jaylen Brown, either we expect them to play or the report has been reassuring. That's not the case right now with what I'm reading on Porzingis. So there's a couple ways to spin this. One, I would hope in the morning this gets cleared up and people are like, oh no, he's probable now, he's gonna play, because he didn't leave that game with injury. He just got ejected, but now he's being listed with knee soreness. That's been a thing for Porzingis. The left knee is the one that required surgery after Kristaps Porzingis tore his ACL in 2018. So this is just a normal sore knee. We're not too worried about it, but he is officially listed as questionable, not anything above that. So I'm expecting him to play, but it is maybe something to think about because when the casual players are making their lineups and they see that fat Q tag next to Porzingis, they're just going to go click Jokic and Embiid and whatnot. So maybe Porzingis on top of, getting ejected now with the Q tag, maybe you get Porzingis at a discounted ownership rate. And for what it's worth, Porzingis, if he doesn't get ejected, he was well on his way to being a fine player, right? 20 minutes, dropped 25 and a half DKP. I think he was cruising, just as well on FanDuel, had a block, so he might even had a little bit more since he didn't have a turnover. So he was well over a point per minute, and that 20 minutes could be 35 minutes. So at 9K Porzingis, I think he's going to get much less ownership than Jokic and Embiid, but there's still a range of outcome that Porzingis could outscore one, if not both of those two. So I'm curious to see what we end up doing with Porzingis in our own lineups. Jake, knowing what we know with the rest of the slate, Luka and Porzingis, where do they fall at a combined basically $20,000-ish of your $50K salary?
It's tough, especially for Luka. For Porzingis, I agree a lot, especially because if people are going to avoid him, the casual people, they'll see a Q tag. They don't need that. Embiid's there. They've got options, so I like that. But we've talked pretty much extensively about options on options on options of great mid-tier guys. And a lot of the value, Jordan Clarkson, he's not 3K anymore. OG Anunoby, he's not 3K anymore. Like a lot of these guys that we went to last time to jam in top end guys, they're not the same value. So it's really hard to get Luka, even in general, but especially fading all the elite mid tier options we've talked about.
Yeah. And there's very strong cases for these other cats because of the minutes and the usage there. So a lot of these 10-man rotations are quickly becoming 7-man rotations with a couple of coffee breaks in between. Raj, you're Mr. Contrarian, man. If I told you can get Luka and Porzingis under 20% each on a 4-game slate, and you said the basketball gods have to make things right here. What do you do with these two, if anything?
I think I'm probably gonna have more Porzingis than Luka. Except Porzingis, essentially great first half, was getting there. I think he would have been more aggressive in the second half. He seemed a little hesitant. I don't know if it was the knee. Like in the first half, he was just kind of, taking a few threes, some long twos, wanting to attack more. But hopefully he does that this game. I think he'll come out with a little passion. They'll look to feed him early coming off the ejection. But give me all the Porzingis here. I get it now.
Well, you say all the Porzingis, that's center only versus Embiid and Jokic. Do you say that? Do you on FanDuel is a power forward. On DraftKings,
okay. DraftKings is center only. You have the util spot too,
but that's still there's
a lot of salary.
Usually, if I'm building lineups, my knee-jerk reaction is to grab two centers that I love. Now, I've been shown that that's not necessarily the way on Monday because of what happened, and then today we like a lot of 7-8K guys, but there's no way. If you're running 20 lineups, do you really have more Porzingis than a Jokic or an Embiid? Probably not, right? You're probably starting with 50%. I don't know. I don't want to throw numbers out there. Embiid, like I said, Embiid and Jokic are still at the point where 50 is meh city, and 60 is almost okay. 60 would work if my 7-8K Van Vliets and Tatums and guys like that,
I like Embiid more for sure. Porzingis and Jokic might be closer than you think.
I don't think that's a crazy take because Jokic, without overtime, was probably just an average play and at 10K. But like I said, I'm even at 10K, 9.7, 9.9. Like 50 is what you need.
What you need, yeah. You're not like thrilled. Yeah, you're not kind of thrilled. It's like, oh yeah, you got me what you need to go over. But Luka, I think he's still got to play because he could be the highest scorer of the slate. But I guess you don't need it if all those mid-tier guys do what they should do.
It depends on how much of
exactly. Depends on how much.
Yeah.
But on the Clippers side though, Kawhi Leonard's 10K on DraftKings. That's more than Embiid and Jokic. So the only reason like I would think about him is just for contrarian leverage play, right? Like he might be under 10% owned right now. Thinking about all those other forwards, thinking about Paul George. I think in 20 lineups I would have no Kawhi. Is that off base? Knowing that Lou Will's back, Montrez is back, they're gonna take some of the
you know
scoring
what?
spots.
I think Embiid just might soak up a lot of the 10K plus ownership.
Yeah, he has to be number one.
Yeah, take the stand. Yeah, just take that stand But again,
But I mean, for me
playoff Kawhi's
personally,
real.
and if you're watching, the only reason I'm even, me, I'm Mr. Tournament Contrarian Leverage. We're talking it out. I'm Embiid over Kawhi in a vacuum. But I'm just saying, like, if we're projecting the field right here, 10K Kawhi, that's not going to pick up any ownership, right? It can't. Not with all these other seven. And like Jake said, it's not like we can just handcuff 3K. Yesterday, you just Markelle Fultz, Goran Dragic, Terrence Ross, DJ Augustine, like, all that stuff was kind of obvious before the slate. Fultz was average or whatever. Fournier even, kind of a bust. But, like, you at least had several guys at 3K that you projected for 30-plus minutes in good spots. And you knew they would take shots. Today, we're talking about Matisse Thybulle and who's the other 3K guy we talked about?
Back to Royce, who was terrible.
Royce O'Neal. Like, those are way more flimsy, fluky. So not only are you're not just playing the 10K guy. You're playing the 3K guy, the 4K guy as well. Whereas
at last game, I was going to say Kawhi last game, Paul George gets in foul trouble. Lou Williams, I was struggling with a shot a little bit. Montrez should get a little more run here. Was that an upside game for him? No Porzingis for any rim protection. Like, everything went right for him to have a great game.
Mm-hmm.
And even with that, he didn't like totally smash. It was just a good game.
Yeah, you talking about Kawhi, right?
Yeah, Kawhi.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like in 20 lineups, I probably don't get to Kawhi, and it puts us in a weird spot again because just like the other night, it's the highest total, right? But we end up with like low exposure to it.
Back.
What are you gonna do?
I still seem like I'll just have a Luka Porzingis Kawhi lineup.
So that's
FanDuel,
right. If I'm making 100 lineups, 150 lineups, I'm gonna have everything.
Yeah.
But like if you're making single entry or whatever, it seems hard to project that you're arriving to this game. And for us late night hammer truthers, there's part of us that wants. I will say, Nakrizi talked about him. I guess it'd be remiss not to at least mention him. Seth Curry's 3,600 kind of fits that bill of a under 4K guy that should get 30 minutes and should have at least some shot volume. So maybe Seth Curry at 3,600 on DraftKings, you put him in your back pocket, but you add him to that Royce O'Neal, Matisse Thybulle pool of players. It's not like it was on day one where Jordan Clarkson was a free square, and Luwawu was under 4K. Like DraftKings shook things up, so lineups are gonna look a little different. And I think what these lineups, the average lineup today, gets rid of the Kawhis, and it's making it harder to play Jokic if you're asking me. Like, I don't think Jokic
the mid-tier is the way to go.
Yeah, and when is the obvious ever the obvious?
Right. Yep.
Anyway, chat. What do you guys got on this one before we get out of here? Thybulle close out. J-Rich to play some point guard. Did my chat not? Oh, my chat's not refreshed. Hold on, let me refresh that. My bad, chat.
Here, while you're doing that, obviously things have changed a little bit, but going off the ownerships on DraftKings from the first time these games rolled around, Jokic was 45%, second highest owned player on the slate. Porzingis was 26%, Embiid was 16%. Now, Porzingis carries a Q tag, he got more expensive, and he just burned everybody. So even if you flip him and Embiid, like if Jokic is going to be the highest owned guy, like if Jokic is double Porzingis' ownership, you take Porzingis every time, right?
Yeah, but I also think
Probably.
I also think now all those AK forwards and Van Vliets and all those guys are just, we're going to see a lot of point chasing.
Yeah.
So that's going to eat from them. And we had value guards that night, right? Clarkson and whatnot. So people were able to make that center-heavy lineup. But I would agree with that. I think I want Porzingis over Jokic if I feel like I'm getting an ownership discount. Because Jokic, he got bailed out, man. He got bailed out. Gobert's not some scrub in the paint. I mean, Jokic can still go out there and get you assists and rebounds or whatever. But right now, Jamal Murray's doing his thing. So I'm not as much of a, Jokic must have here. And the more I think about it, I pretty much not decided, but earlier I said what I did on Monday on FanDuel was I went straight 50-50 Jokic and Embiid. The more I think about that at the same price, I might seesaw it a little bit to give Embiid 65 to 35, just because I think it's starting to make a little bit more sense to be heavy on Embiid. And I think that's what the field does, but I'm less and less on. CJ says Montrezl Harrell could be interesting. Yeah, it looks like they're working him back up. Austin Lee says thoughts on 5,300 Lou Williams if you're not playing Paul George or Kawhi. I'm a big fan of Sweet Lou. I feel like that price is, we could see 30-plus fantasy points there. Just missed it by a three-pointer in that first game. Only took 10 shot attempts, too. And I do think in a competitive game down the stretch, 13, 14 shot attempts, this is a guy that you can game script to be the first man up as a scorer. If Pat Bev gets into foul trouble, which is a very likely outcome if they try to slow down Luka a little bit, or if they just need to spell, even if Paul George got in foul trouble, Lou Williams is the guy to come in and do some work. And then I love Lou Will's assist potential now with Montrezl Harrell back in the mix. Those two have been running one of the best pick and rolls in all of basketball. So yeah, I like Lou Will, but he kind of feels like Dennis Schroeder to me today, where Schroeder made all the sense in the world pre-flop, but no, it's a tournament play, and there's a floor that bottoms out, but the ceiling is fantastic. Porzingis, Tatum, and Embiid are my core, Adam. I think that's a good core, but it's not like I don't want to say creative. Usually when I core players, it's guys that are either value or like 7K or less or 6K. Guys that I can truthfully say I'll have this much exposure because they're the lowest risk stuff. If you're putting Tatum, Embiid, and Porzingis into the lineups, and maybe you're talking from a FanDuel perspective, I'm pretty sure you are if I remember you correctly. Maybe it's a little stronger, but I think that's a high floor core. On DraftKings, it's also a high price core. Tatum, Embiid, Porzingis. That would leave you with 44-40, which I would say it's borderline impossible to make this lineup right now and feel good. So
definitely had to go with the Royce O'Neal, Matisse Thybulle.
I'm assuming you mean for
value
FanDuel.
Isn't there for that today.
Oh, he said I also play on FanDuel. Okay, MKG will play more minutes. I wouldn't. That's not going to change my Embiid, Luka, Brown, my core. Embiid, Luka. So is Luka?
That's an expensive core.
I don't think there's a value for you to win a tournament with that.
I mean, from where we sit now, no, but I mean, shoot, let's just go look at all the under 4K options on this slate. And
I mean, if Porzingis wants to get ruled out early in the day, and we can have Boban as an option, that would be fun.
Oh my god! So Marcus Gasol is 4K on the dot. Royce O'Neal's there. I think he'll pick up traction for the minutes. Seth Curry will play 30 minutes. I think if Porzingis was out, Kleber would probably start. Maybe, I don't know.
Maxi Kleber started game 1 and played 34 minutes. Didn't do much, but he played minutes.
So there's that. None of these 3K guys are fun. Thybulle, we could put him at 30 minutes. Is he gonna do much? I don't know. This is what's drawing me away from Luka, because I can't go Luka, Jordan Clarkson today. I have to go Luka, Thybulle, or you know what I'm saying. There's nobody down here that has any sense of confidence that I would put money to make them. Because if you're coring Luka, you're saying I want him to be one of my highest owned players, and then you're probably leveraging that against the field. So if somebody's my core, it means they're probably 50% minimum in my lineups, and then that means these scrubs have to be 50% just to offset the price. So I don't know how Luka could be a core for me today, and on FanDuel, where it's generally easier to play the studs, shooting guard's the deepest position on the slate. Mitchell's, Van Vliet, Levert's, it's tough to core Luka today. Oluwatosin. I'm sure I ruined that one. What's your thoughts on Alec Burks? So I had a nice chunk of Alec Burks on that Monday slate, but much like everyone else, his price went up. He went from 41 to 46. We're getting to that need 24, 25 to 30 territory. I think that's not an outlandish range of outcomes for him. He took 15 shot attempts. 4,600, I'm a buyer. So if I'm leaning on those 7, 8K Tatum's and Van Vliet's, and then I don't have to get too creative with 3Ks. I can play with 4Ks. Alec Burks absolutely somebody that would be a candidate to be one of those 4K options for me, for sure. Brad Wanamaker is going to see 20-plus minutes. Oh, Jesus.
We're not playing Brad Wanamaker. Stop, guys. Stop.
No, I
There's
mean,
no
if we're talking about Thibault, like I don't think he's off fade. Like that just shows you how ugly the 3K value area is.
Yeah, and I think that just says build balance. Forget Luka. Forget these ups.
Pat Bev is cheap. Yeah, I mean those are all names that could spin the wheel and do well. But yikes. Chat, man, can you guys give me the 30 likes before I get off the air? I'm about to sign off. I did just post my FanDuel Core video. If you guys want to show some love to the channel, you ain't even got to watch it. If you just spent your time listening to this video, you ain't even got to watch it. But, man, go over there, hit that thumbs up. Really been shaking up the channel. I think I'm going to get to 5K subs before football starts, which is cool because this channel went dormant for a while. But if you guys appreciate and love these streams, what do you say we do it again tomorrow after the last game finishes to talk the next slate, which was yesterday's slate, and then we'll talk about the Lakers bounce back. I'm excited to see what the prices look like that slate. So maybe make it part of your night if you're an overnight owl like I am. So look for us on this channel after the last game tips off. Otherwise, I'll be in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord all day. And we invite you to come join us. We'll also have baseball coverage tomorrow afternoon. Looks like another big slate for baseball. Hopefully, we continue the streak there. 28 likes. Oh, man, we are so close. So close to 30. Oh. Anyway.
Somebody like the 30 right now. Like.
Anyway, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I will see you guys
30
in the next one. I love you guys. Good luck. God bless.